We don't travel to escape life. We travel so life doesn't escape us. And it's long past time we got back out there. So where to? Dulles International Airport. Let your imagination soar. Book now at flydulles.com/nonstop.
This is Ralph Rindler, director of the Smithsonian Bicentennial Folklife Festival. If you enjoyed the festival, you'll be interested in this invitation.
Ladies and gentlemen, an opportunity like this cannot be taken for granted.
This evening, we are going to be beating our hearts out for you all, so I want to see people enjoying themselves. So get up and feel the music and do something about it, okay?
This event is a right of cultural democracy.
We have many, many partners, you included. I encourage you to stand alongside with us as we travel this journey year after year.
No one looks to Omaha, Nebraska, in the middle of the heartland, for holiness.
Hells Creek runs not only through the Tri-Faith Commons, but through Omaha, literally. And figuratively, this hell, this dark place, is ever present in our world. It represents inequity. It represents hate. It represents pain and suffering, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, a lack of seeing or knowing. And it also represents the opposite of that. We have a church, a mosque, a synagogue, and an interfaith center, each that has ownership and autonomy, because it's not only honoring what is beautiful about the sibling relationship of the Abrahamic traditions, but it recognizes that we are different. We're coming together to be the opposite of what is ugly or dark or hell in this world. The fact that it runs through us reminds us that it also lives in us, and that we have a responsibility to not stand by. Hells Creek runs between us, but it does not define us.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2023 Smithsonian Folklife Festival, where for over 50 years we have convened people here on the National Mall to explore, to exchange, and engage with the power of culture and creativity in our lives today. This year we have two programs, the Ozarks, Faces and Facets of a Region, and Creative Encounters, Living Religions in the U.S. We would love for you to add your festival stories to ours on social media using our hashtag 2023FolkLife. The Smithsonian Folklife Festival is produced by the Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage and presented in partnership with the National Park Service. This festival is made possible by people like you. You can visit our website, festival.si.edu, to join our community of contributors. We also receive federally appropriated funds, Smithsonian Trust funds, contributions from governments, businesses, foundations, and individuals, in-kind assistance, and food, recording, and craft sales. The festival strives to maintain an accessible and inclusive environment for visitors of all abilities. If you are in need of accessible seating options or assistive listening during this presentation, please see the venue manager volunteer for assistance. You can find detailed information about our accessibility services, including ASL interpretation, audio description, real-time captioning, and a variety of other services on the website or by visiting the information booth right over there. Promotional support for the festival was provided by the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority and the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority. Creative Encounters, Living Religions in the U.S., has received generous support from the Lilly Endowment's Religion and Cultural Institutions Initiative. This national project aims to help museums and other cultural institutions foster greater public understanding about religion and to present the contributions of people of all faiths and diverse religious communities. The program also received federal support from the Latino Initiatives Pool, administered by the National Museum of the American Latino, and the Asia Pacific American Initiatives Pool, administered by the Smithsonian Asian Pacific American Center. Ooh, welcome. My name is Rebecca. I am one of the curators of the Creative Encounters program that I just mentioned. I'm so delighted and honored to introduce today a cross-cultural, cross-technological event all about gardening, working in the soil, connecting with our communities, and connecting with the earth. I'm going to turn it over now to the moderator of our panel, Ellie Pierce of the Harvard Pluralism Project, and welcome to the stage Rita Peters, Chris Battle, and on our screen, Bonnie Leiserowitz.
Great. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks to all of our panelists. I would love it if each of our panelists could introduce themselves and say a little bit about the work that they're doing and how they became involved with it. Would you like to start, Rita?
Sure. Hanichara haipi, hochonkarajada khoropasainga higaide, maikade rajada ridaga hingaide, dejob eja hachienje. It's good to see you all today. My name is Baldigo Woman, and my English name is Rita. I'm also from the Dejope Four Lakes area, which is Madison, Wisconsin. I'm here representing Ho-Chunk and Menominee Nation. I am currently in a soil health internship exploring traditional growing practices, and I have an indigenous research garden where I am building mounds and seeing how the yield and soil health is from start to finish.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Battle from Knoxville, Tennessee. And if you live in the zip code that we work in, if you wanted to buy some fresh fruits and vegetables, you couldn't do it because there's no grocery store in our zip code. We're trying to fight food disparity. We're trying to create an oasis, a food oasis in this food desert through building community gardens, through our veggie truck. We have established a farmer's market, but we're just trying to fight food disparity and help people to grow their own produce so that they don't have to depend on the system.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. And Bonnie, can you say a little bit about how you came to be involved with Tri-Faith's Unity Garden?
So we started this garden because it translates. It translates on Tri-Faith Commons with all religions and without religion. People understand food inequity. And I'm honored to be with you today. We always feel at Unity and Hope that this is not our job, it's everyone's job to help provide fresh food and support. And we find that it is comforting to be able to do this kind of work together, volunteers and donating this food.
Wonderful. Since we are at the Festival of Living Religion in America, I wonder if each of you could say something about the relationship of faith or spirituality to the work that you do in the garden. Would you like to start, Rita?
Sure. it could be pretty loaded. I could talk about it for a while. There's, at every step and every moment, there's always that connection and that love that is being shared and respected from the time that we plant the seed, or even when we have them, taking care of them, talking to them, letting them know whose hands they're in and my intentions for them and maybe where they're gonna go. So I think from the beginning to planting and caring, there's always that moment. I mean, even for, I think, a lot of tribes, at the end of every harvest season, they have something similar to a green corn dance, which is us celebrating and being grateful for the harvest of the year. So it's very well a part of everything.
Well, my story started in 2008 when I was pastoring a Baptist church and moved to Knoxville, and we were cleaning a cemetery, Oddfellow Cemetery. Most of the people buried there were born in slavery, and it was just a mess. And so we decided to go and spruce it up. We're picking up headstones, we're mowing, we're chainsawing. We got bags and bags of debris in the corner that we've collected. And this gentleman pulls up in a pickup truck, stops me and starts thanking us for what we're doing. And in my Southern Baptist thinking, I caught me a fish. And I said, brother, won't you come join us at the church? And these were his words, and I quote, I ain't coming to your damn church. And he pulled off. And it bugged me, it just stuck with me. And I'm like, well, they did a study in Knoxville on how church attendance is declining. 20% of Knoxvillians go to church on a regular basis. I'm talking to my friends, my pastor friends across the country, across denominational lines, across racial lines, and they're saying the same thing. So my mind, like, what do we need to do differently? I didn't know. I always did a little gardening, okay? But we had a plot there at the church, and I said, why don't we turn this into a community garden? Learned about food disparity, food desert while we were planning this. Started the garden, and lo and behold, all these people are coming to the garden. And I mean, people who would never walk through the doors of my Black Baptist institutional brick and mortar church, right? And I'm like, whoa, so they're coming to the garden, but they're not coming to the church. Maybe we need to merge the two. And so that's what we do. We have merged this where we're fighting food disparity, but for us as Christians, we're also trying to share the love of God through Jesus. And that's who we are, and that's what we do. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Bonnie, would you like to say a little bit about how spirituality factors into the Tri-Faith Unity Garden and Hope Orchard?
Well, I think that it doesn't take long to be in the garden, like these two speakers have already said. It doesn't take long, and you start listening to the garden, you start listening to gardeners, you start listening to nature and becoming more in tune with the way things happen. I think that's what happens for us. We're able to translate whichever religion it is, or lack of religion, that it translates this way. I think there's something very tangible and very human about doing this. That's one of the reasons that we started our Three Sisters plot at the garden, to reconnect with our Native American brothers and sisters in a different way, an authentic way. And we're able to find a gentleman in Omaha who started a foundation called Sacred Seeds, who helps us be an authentic place for growing the Three Sisters, or I think Taylor would say Four Sisters, because he includes a pollinator with that. So there's just the outreach and the connection and the inclusion. And I think both of your speakers used this four-letter word too, love, is the baseline for everything.
Thank you, that's beautiful. Love is a part of gardening, and so is healing. This is a common theme across these projects, whether at Tri-Faith trying to heal religious divides. Can you talk a little bit about how your projects are involved in healing and what they are healing?
Yeah, sure. So let's see. How do I want to start this? I'll just start it from a personal perspective. Working with plants and growing and being closer to the land and really looking at patterns and, seeing what certain things need to grow and be prosperous. Part of taking care of that, I'm taking care of myself because I'm spending that time and I'm noticing and I'm aware of things. And a lot of times in this world, it's easy to put blinders on and just focus on what you need to do. And, it's that hustle mentality, keep going, keep grinding. And there's never a place to really, or a time to slow down and think and see, like, how am I really feeling? And a lot of times I think we don't take enough time to do that. And gardening is a form of meditation, a form of being there, present and there. And that has a lot of healing power in itself. But besides that, I'm also working with relatives. These seeds, these indigenous seeds, they're looking out for me. All of my ancestors have held them in their hands, and even if these seeds are dormant for 50 years, 100 years, they're going to wake up one day and take care of us and love us. And having that, knowing that like sacredcy, that I'm holding relatives and that I don't know the last relative that they met, but I'm gonna be a good one and I wanna be there for them. So that is empowering and it's beautiful and it makes me feel so much more connected, even if I don't know everything, so to say, that I want to know, and I don't know certain things yet, and I may need to continue to learn and grow, but they make me feel confident that at least I have someone there with me to learn through it.
Yeah. So as I said before, we have a small urban farm, maybe half acre, and we are getting people that come to the farm across the spectrum, What the healing, one aspect of the healing for me is that it has opened the door for conversation and develop relationships that I didn't have the opportunity or didn't take advantage of before. There's something very equalizing about working in the soil together. So we have people who are of different political persuasions than I am, but when we're weeding around the okra, it doesn't really matter, Also, we have a veggie van named after Fannie Lou Hamer that goes throughout the community. And we serve like 4 subsidized housing units. We take out about a ton of food each time that we go out twice a week and give out fresh produce to these 4 different subsidized housing units. And one of the sad things about it is that we see a lot of people who are amputees. We see a lot of missing toes. And we know that's because they don't have access to fresh, affordable, nutritious fruits and vegetables. The zip code we live in, the median income is $17,000 a year. Okay, $17,000 a year. So they're lacking transportation, lacking access. There's a lot of dollar stores, there's a lot of fast food chains, there's a lot of corner stores, but no collard greens, And so going out, developing relationships with these people. People are telling me now, they said, they're calling me, they're texting me, they're mad at me right now because I didn't go out this week. Where's the veggie van? Where's the veggie van? But we've developed relationships with people. Been in this community since 2008. A lot of these people I didn't meet who are literally blocks away from my church are now friends of mine. We look forward to seeing each other. We share stories. We pray together, right there at the veggie van. So that's the healing part of me, is that this whole aspect of creating community, I think is extremely important for us.
Thank you so much. And Bonnie, did you want to speak at all to the healing properties of the garden?
Well, I think we, as a group, say that we're not just growing vegetables, we're growing relationships that last. And I think your last speaker spoke to that beautifully, that it's all about everybody else. Even during COVID, we just kept working. The vegetables didn't care about the pandemic, and hunger still goes on. So I think that's a beautiful thing that each of us are doing, is reaching out reaching out further and further and understanding each other more and more. I know it's shifted the way our volunteers think about food and who eats the food and who wants what kind of food. I think that's a beautiful, growing, healing experience.
Great, thank you. And seeing Rita here on stage reminds me of how important it is to engage the next generation in this work. Can you say a little bit about how you were brought into the work and some of the work that Wild Berries does to engage the next generation?
Oh, yes, definitely. So Wild Berries is a nonprofit that highlights indigenous foods and brings them into indigenous communities. And one of the main things that we say and we can all relate to is food. It's at the center of everyone's table, something we can all relate to amidst differing opinions or lifestyles. We can all relate over a good plate of food. And if you visit any Native household or Native ceremony or doing, there's going to be food there. And that is going to be how we greet you, and we want you to never be hungry. And that's a big part of our hospitality and just the way that our culture is in general. So, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. For the youth, and how I got started with Wild Berries. So that is one of the main messages, and food is something that we can all relate to, and it's something that is really important. And I saw Chef Elena Terry start up Wild Berries, and she's also my relative, so I've always looked up to her. I've been able to see her from the time I was a young girl and growing up and seeing how she's flourished and the things that she's really been able to take hold and help, and really just help is what I mean. And so I wanted to be a part of that. I heard about food sovereignty. I see there's a need for it. I see that I feel that I have a responsibility as well, and it's something that I want to be a part of. And ever since entering into the Wild Berries space, I have seen how important our seeds are, and the start to finish, like growing the seed to when it ends up on the table. And I have always had an interest in plants and gardening. I spent a lot of time at a botanical garden in Madison, Wisconsin. I spent every weekend there, and then I just realized there was already a love there, and there's already a responsibility, and I felt the need to do this. And so I started school, I started volunteering at the garden, I moved into an internship there and helped facilitate an indigenous garden at Olbrich Botanical Gardens. And so it has kind of like flourished and developed into that, and there have been trials and tribulations along the way. There have been moments of hiccups or self-doubt or things that don't always work out, but that's something with gardening. It's not a matter of if, but when something won't work out. And so you learn to kind of just roll with it, and that's something that I want to encourage everyone, even people my age, is that there's always going to be those things that you don't know, or things that you feel like you're doing wrong, or maybe not doing well enough, or knowledge lost. Even our own ancestors at some point didn't know something, and they paid attention. They looked at the patterns of the seasons, or how something behaved at this time, or even like the regenerative farming with Three Sisters. We saw how they appreciated each other, and even if it came in a spiritual way or something that you actually found that knowledge yourself, it's possible. And not to be too afraid of taking that first step and making mistakes and not knowing, because we all don't know everything, and we're not meant to. It's a part of why we're here. So
that's wonderful. Thank you.
I was going to defer to her again, but anyway, yeah, one of the problems that we have in our community is that a lot of the younger generation associate farming with slavery, and so we have to overcome that stigma. What we have done, we've been able to do this year, is to get some young interns. So we have some 6 African-American teenagers, high schoolers, who we are paying them to be at the farm, to learn about farming, composting, taking care of the soil, taking care of the earth. They learn how to clip the wings of the chickens, They're going to be learning about taking care of the bees. You know, we got worms. I'm getting ready to get some pot-bellied pigs. You know, we're going to have, and our intern director who's here with us, Kayla, she was just saying, Chris, you know, we only got like 2 or 3 weeks left, and the kids are like angry, they're mad because they got to stop, you know. And so we're going to try to figure out a way how to get them to continue this. My goal is to get them interested, to get them invested, because I'm getting older, and I want somebody to be able to take this mission over, not only just to learn how to farm and garden, but to understand the problems and consequences of food disparity in our community, you know, because I want to wipe it out. Ultimately, I want to go out of business because the fresh, affordable, fresh fruits and vegetables will be available in our community. But yeah, in the meantime, we're just investing in our youth and praying that they will take over, yeah.
Thank you so much. And Bonnie, would you like to speak a little bit about how the next generation can be involved in the work of the Tri-Faith Garden?
Well, we're working on that. I think that we all have difficulties getting young people to be present. But I can also tell you that once they're out there and you see some children harvesting carrots, and for the first time in their lives, they see where a carrot came from, which I think is extremely interesting to watch that process. They never forget that. So those kids that experience the garden often find the magic there, and we hope that they keep bringing more of their friends. The thing that we feel like is the most encouraging is if the parents, the young parents, bring their children and work with them. We find that is the most successful. So yeah, they're the ones that drive.
Thank you so much. So what kinds of relationships do you have with the broader community, partnerships with other organizations that help you to realize some of the work that you do? Rita?
You want me to go first this time?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Take the pressure
I'm gonna
off.
take the burden off of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we have a vegetable van. As I said, that goes out twice a week. I don't have the capacity to grow that much produce, so we partner with Nourish Knoxville. Nourish Knoxville runs all of the farmers markets in the county, and they had a COVID grant to purchase the produce that the farmers don't sell. And so they do that for us. What they purchase, they give to us. We fill the van up and give it to the community. We also have a partnership with Second Harvest through Feed America, and we get fresh produce from them as well. We get community partners who come out and help us support. We're starting to work with. We took some squash. Butternut squash out once, and that's when I learned food is very regional. And people were going through the bus and they were like, "What's this? Is it an ornament? You know, decorative? You know?" And like, "No, it's butternut squash." But they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know how to cook it. So we're trying to work now to have people on site who can show them how to cook, give out recipes and things like that. So that's very important, because not enough just to have the food, but know what to do with it when you get it, you know. So yeah, so we have a lot of partnerships. One thing about Knoxville, the community has been extremely kind to us and supportive and generous in helping us make this thing happen. So yeah. Partnership is key.
I personally, I'm a member of Wild Berries, and in my internship, firstly, where I started was with my indigenous garden was at Olbrich Botanical Gardens, and so with their help and their partnership, I was allotted a space in their herb garden to grow. That's one of the barriers that I personally have, and I believe a lot of Native Americans or people of color have, is access to land. And so I personally don't have anywhere that I can farm or grow. And so there's a need for that. But I was allowed space at Olbrich, and I'm really grateful for that. And now I'm growing at a UW-Madison research garden. And so right now we have about a 40 by 40 space. And with that partnership and this internship, my internship is with Wisconsin Tribal Conservation Advisory Council, WITCAC for short. And so with their help and UW's help, I have the Indigenous Research Garden now.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And Bonnie, do you want to say something about the relationships that you have both with donation sites and others in Omaha?
Well, Trifaith, of course, is our first partner, but we also partner with the donor sites where we distribute our produce. And I can tell you that from those donor sites, we have learned more about what they want and what they need and what we should grow. And we've altered how we grow things because we've listened to what our donor recipients have requested from us. So we've learned how to harvest better for our donors, and we've learned how to grow better because we've listened to the people that we donate to, how they want it delivered, how they want it packaged, so that they get their produce from our garden within an hour or two after we've harvested. Not grocery store fresh, as you all know, is not the same as garden fresh. So we're trying to work on that. That relationship with our recipients has changed us, and the people around us, corporate participation to help us grow, and individuals who have donated, like our retaining wall to us, and Ram Hingarani did that for us, who is not associated with Trifaith, but just a generous person. Mulhall's in town, the universities around us. There's several corporations like Lindsay Corporation in Omaha that are just great. Come out and help and donate products. So we couldn't exist without the people that guide us down. We're not alone. We are not an island.
I'll say this too. I probably said the partnership with my volunteers. You know, yeah, we could not exist if it wasn't for the volunteers. Also, we have a few churches who have allowed us to use their plots of land to build community gardens. We just finished one at the Payne Avenue Baptist Church with 36 beds. We're getting ready to do another one at an African Methodist Episcopal Church. We're going to maybe have around 60 beds. We've purchased some more property with another group. We're going to have like 30 more beds there. So we're excited about these partnerships with other, with congregations as well as with community members. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And for anyone who's here at the festival, be sure to go over to the Teaching Garden, where you can meet folks from Battlefield Farm and from Wild Berries to learn more. Also, just to say that they all have great websites: battlefieldfarm.org, Wild Berries, and that's BEARIES.org, and trifaith.org if you want to learn more. I wanted to just ask a question about hope and how, with rising food disparity and insecurity, this work is really difficult. How do you maintain that sense of hope and keep working?
It's probably a conversation I had with a weed once. I pulled up into the parking lot and saw this weed growing in the crack, you know, and I was getting ready to pull it, and weed literally just started talking to me. You know, what you doing, ma'am? And it talked about, you know, the tenacity and the strength of this seed, that even though I don't have perfect environment, I'm not watered regularly, I don't have grass, I'm in concrete, asphalt, yet you see me blooming. And I'm like, man, that spoke to my spirit in the sense that if that seed or that weed, you know, can make it through this asphalt, surely we can make it with some patience with each other. Yeah, I'll even say some tolerance. But I think it's the fact that we just have to learn how to love and respect each other regardless. And I try to look at people for the image of God that they've been created in, and see people as humans and treat them as such. And that's what my hope is, that's what my faith is in, and that's why I think that we can make it if we just learn how to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Yeah, that's my hope.
And Rita, what gives you a sense of hope?
There's a lot. I mean, there's Chris. It's super awesome to be in the gardening and growing space. It's always full of really amazing people who have big hearts. And like was mentioned earlier, yeah, there's a lot of love. And so seeing that, there's no shortage of love. These people who are growing this food, they have a real love for it. And we physically, when we're eating that food, alchemize it and turn it into energy to give back into the world. And that's one of the most beautiful things about food is how these plants take care of us, and we're able to actually turn it into energy. And I think there's a huge resurgence of that need or that longing to be connected to the land and to your food. I mean, there's tons of foodies out there. We all love food, and being able to really enjoy it and know where it comes from and know its properties and what it's doing for you, it really connects you and brings that presence into when you're eating, and it brings so much love into it. I think there's a lot of hope out there. I know that I myself have been influenced by really great minds and really great people around me, and if that hope wasn't already there and that encouragement wasn't already there, then I wouldn't be here. And so yeah, there's a lot of it.
Wonderful. And Bonnie, would you like to speak to your sense of hope growing in the garden?
Well, I think that Rabbi Azriel, one of our founders for Tri-Faith, would say to us that everything that you need to know, everything you need to learn, you can learn in the garden. And I think that my grandmother would have said that too. But hope is what we give each other. Every time something goes wrong, there's problems with irrigation, or there's some bug that's driving us crazy, or something's not going right, like hail. We all just, bolster each other and give each other hope and know that we're going to get through it, and we're going to keep working towards this goal. And it's tangible. You can feel close to whoever you worship to or whatever you believe in the garden. So everybody should do it. It's not exclusive, it's inclusive, and that's something that also gives me hope.
That's great. I want to probably turn to the audience for some questions soon, but first let me ask the panelists if you have any questions for each other, since you have common work. Anyone?
I'm good.
You're good. Okay.
Also, we're neighbors.
Yeah,
You're neighbors.
So
You've already.
We've got to know each other the last few days and over the next course of days too.
Well, one question I will ask Pastor Battle to talk about is two things. You're 19 kids, and you have this slogan about, is it BPs that you like to talk about?
The BPs, yeah. So, the BPs. I don't know which one to start with, the children, or I'll make y'all wait on the children. Anyway, so the BPs, I call them the BPs. That's how a lot of times churches determine their success. Butts and pews, bucks in the plate, building programs, and baptisms in the pool. The problem is those things are very tangible, I guess, but I think it doesn't measure how much you're affecting the community, And so I'm like, let's do a different measuring stick. How much, and I guess it's more a subjective thing. Is there less crime? Is there less violence? Less divorce? Just like that. Are our schools doing better? I think our churches need to look like our communities, So that's that one in a nutshell. I did just finish a book, and it should be here tomorrow, hopefully. And it's called I Ain't Coming to Your Damn Church. but I will come to your garden. And we talk about that. But I have 19 children. I usually tell people I got 7 babies mamas, but I won't do that. We've adopted or have legal custody over 15 kids, and I don't even like kids, And they range from age 37 to 10, I think. So, yeah, we got a house full. We're down to 4 now. So,
Congratulations.
yeah. I'll be 70 years old when the last one graduates from high school.
Wow. Do they work in the garden at all?
No.
No.
I go to the garden to get away from it.
Okay. That's great. I don't know if anyone has questions. Is there a mic in the audience at all?
Tyler, can you put out 32 for an audience mic for questions?
And in the meantime, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what happens at Battlefield Farm in terms of you have chickens, you have bees, you have how many raised beds?
We have 50 raised beds, high tunnel. We got bees. We call them the Cardi bees. Okay, some of y'all get that. Okay, all right. We're getting ready to get a new hive. We're going to call them the Beyoncés. I don't know. Maybe we'll get another one called the B-52s. I don't know. We could go all day on this, the BB Kings. Yeah, so we're just trying to have, we want it to be a teaching garden. So we have, let people know that you can grow in anything. You don't need a huge yard to grow. So we grow things in tires, we got bathtubs, we grow things in toilets. You know, let people know that you can grow. All you need is a bucket, you know, and you can grow your own produce. Our goal is really to get everybody in the community to grow one crop, and we can share that together, and we can practically eat for free. And it's about becoming food sovereign. It's about taking over power, our own power, creating our own power within the community, so we can solve many of our own problems. Clemson did a study a few years ago, and they said that when there's a 1% increase in food disparity, there's a corresponding 12% increase in violence. You know, there's other factors that go along with that, poverty and what have you. But we just believe if we can really solve this food problem, that I think it can leak over to solve some other problems as well. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if the mic is up now, but I think we have a question from the audience.
Hi, and thank you so much. This was so much more. I was really interested in the concept of sacred gardening, but this is so much more practical and interesting than what I had imagined. And Pastor, that sounds like a great way to get youth involved with all the pop references. I had a couple of questions. Where's this tent? Where's the tent where we can follow up on looking into your work? Whereabouts is it located?
The teaching garden is back that way?
I think that is actually the regular garden space. So the teaching garden is in the Ozark side, but we're over here in Creative Encounters. We are to the right of, there's a stage over there.
Right by the kitchen table.
Yeah, there's a kitchen table and then kitchen theology, which is also where Chef Elena will be doing her demos if you do want to try some of Wild Berry's food with indigenous ingredients. Yeah. She's doing a demo nearly every day, I believe. I think she's going every day. So it'll be over there in the Creative Encounters, and our booths are right next to each other. You'll see the raised beds.
Awesome. I love that. And I was just curious what you do in the cold months, especially somewhere like Nebraska. Do you store food for the winters, or how do you if the vulnerable populations are dependent on the food you're producing, how do you help them in the winter months?
Our veggie van continues to go during the winter months. I sleep. We're going to start trying to do some fall and winter planting. We have pretty mild winters in Knoxville. But yeah, the veggie van, again, it's not dependent upon my garden. It's dependent upon the market and second harvest. So yeah, the veggie van continues to go. Yeah.
That's great. I'm from Wisconsin, and so in the winter months, we typically just put the beds to sleep. I have been doing a cover crop at the fall and the spring. So in the spring, all of that, those cover crops will fix the nitrogen in the soil and add all that it needs. Usually at the end of a harvest, if there's anything left over, we'll process it and dry the corn. There are also variations of squash that we will do that can overwinter well and are good on the counter. So there are some traditional methods of storing too.
And Bonnie, do you want to talk about cold Nebraska?
Yeah, so once the frost happens, there's not much out there, but we do our best to harvest all of our green tomatoes, and we keep those inside and then ripen them inside and continue to donate tomatoes. Even I think our last donation was just before Thanksgiving last year, and we also have cold frames that Ellie had a little bit to do with that we're learning how to use better and better. We harvested spinach very, very early in February this year. So there's not much of a gap between the sleeping garden and the growing garden. And of course, carrots and radishes, especially daikon, can be harvested very late, even into January. So we don't actually go to sleep, we just take naps.
That sounds great. And just one last question. I was thinking about with youth, do you allow teenagers to do summer camps with any of your projects, or just help out in some way? Or is that too intrusive and too disruptive?
Anybody? Oh, yeah, we have our interns, and we have a lot of young volunteers that come through different organizations, churches, schools. We have, like I said, we have a small place. We had 42 kids from a school one day come through. I don't know why, but anyway. I told you I don't like kids, right? Okay, but anyway. So yeah, that's how we're doing that through the volunteers. We get a lot of young people to volunteer, different organizations, and plus our interns, yes. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for your questions. Does anyone else want to answer that about?
I personally don't have interns. I'm an intern myself. My garden is like the one we're working with is like a 40 by 40 space. We will invite other Native peers out to come help with the garden, but no camps or like overnight or anything like that.
And Bonnie, I believe you don't have that infrastructure yet, but she has the on campus at Tri-Faith, they have a mosque school, the synagogue school, and church school, so there are a lot of kids come in that way. But I've been told that we need to wrap things up, so I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your questions. Thank you to the panelists. Learned so much from you and really enjoyed it. And thank you to the Folklife Festival for having us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for attending. We would love for you to visit the Folklife concessions, which are located right behind those of us who are lucky enough to be here in Washington, D.C., where you can get a great lunch inspired by our programs. As we wrap up, I'd like to thank all of the staff in this venue, Sissy, Bruce, Allison, Tyler, Nate, Dalen, Troy, keeping us online, and our interpreter and transcriber. Let's give them a round of applause.